Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and it's that time again. It's midweek, and I want you to play some Magic because you can win 2 rare or better ICRs in doing so. This midweek Magic can really put the budget community to its edge. Mostly because of the massive economic disadvantage that there is potentially for brand new players that haven't had a chance to collect much in the more recent sets and that really don't get much, if anything, from their new player experience that comes to bear here. However, if you have had even a mild opportunity to collect those sets, I think this week represents a very good opportunity for us to explore some coincidental synergies between our budget decks over the last 3 sets. But before we get into all that, allow me to do the awkward thing and promote the channel. A while back, one of my viewers was kind enough to point out that we are the only channel putting out timely midweek Magic content. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek Magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. So what do you say we put all this aside and just get to that? The biggest opportunity in my mind with the on the edge style midweek magics is the very precarious position that it leaves very new players. If you just started on Arena, this would be the sum total of cards and relevant non-basic lands that you're guaranteed to have. And granted, there's some pretty decent white creatures here in particular. One gets much better if you run red. You've got a couple of good colorless creatures that also get better if you happen to run red for the Unearth. In fact, to be honest, I don't think I'd run either one of these without access to red. And you get some pretty good white utility in the form of removal and things like that. And then you get a couple of gold cards that don't really synergize. Third Path Iconoclast is pretty good. Junkyard Genius, also pretty good. And even if you don't have them from the current sets, pretty much everyone should have at least 2 copies of each of the gain lands that gain you a life as they come into play. Now, with this in mind, I do think it's fairly workable. I mean, you have almost half a deck here, maybe a third of a deck if you weren't trying to run Iconoclast, which I think is the correct thing to do. And even if you weren't splashing Junkyard Genius, which I would only do if your card pool was super limited. From there, I mean, you can probably put together a fairly decent red-white deck just from the cards that you get from your 3 free packs here and there. Hopefully new players are still getting those even for sets that they've missed. I have been told that that's true, but I haven't been able to verify that yet personally. That does give you some options. I would not do jump in just yet if you're brand new, because what you don't know is in about 3 weeks or so, when Lord of the Rings comes out, jump in, the pool is going to reset, and it's a lot more beneficial as far as the value you get out of it towards your collection. The other thing to consider is possibly, if you've been on for about a week, being able to do your first quick draft to try and add more cards to your collection. That is, of course, if Dominaria United wasn't coincidentally the draft environment available to us right now. And in case you haven't read the fine print, this set is not legal for use in the On the Edge midweek Magic offering. So I don't know if that was an intentional screw off to new players or just really poor timing, but that's how it is. So basically you're looking at your free packs here to try and fill out the deck.
All right, so let's switch gears here and talk about what we do have. And in this instance, that is a strong Selesnya overlap in our recent top archetypes recommendations for the 3 sets involved with this on the edge. So even if you don't have an existing budget deck that fits the on the edge limitations, or one that maybe could work with just a couple of cards being switched out, you should be able to build a very feasible and workable deck from your green-white draft proceeds over the last couple of sets. And that is what we're going to look at this point.
And here we have what I have come up with and will be playing this week on my primary account. I used as many of those guaranteed new player experience cards as I could, including the ossification, Sunblessed Guardian. Let me see what else was in here. The Combat Thresher, and Against All Odds, and the Static Nets. The Static Net has a little less synergy in the deck, and maybe that's something you don't want to include, but I did just to make this deck as approachable as we possibly could. I don't think this is the best deck anyone, or even myself, could build, but I do think it's a pretty accurate representation of a deck that really anyone should be able to build, particularly if they were drafting these last 3 sets. We have limited ourselves on rares to really just the rares that are accessible through things like Jump In and things like that. Mostly the Teething Wormlet is in here. We've got a Steel Seraph in here. A Bloated Contaminator, a single Simian Simulacrum, just because it fits in so well. And Siege Veteran, again, is available in the Jump In collections. The one kind of reach I did on this was Clay Champion. I happen to have a copy on that. I think it is very powerful, but not necessarily anything that's going to make or break the deck. So if you don't have it, don't feel bad. Don't burn a wild card. Just use what you have. When it comes to uncommons, I really limited myself to 2 copies on that. Evolving Adaptive fits very, very nicely. Botanical Brawler, if I had a second copy, I would run it. I'm running a single copy of the Slaughter Singer because the whole poison toxic thing is much less relevant for this particular build. And the Dissident, of course, fits with the Brawler overlap and the large number of artifacts that are available in this. Crawling Chorus hits that toxic theme, and when it dies, it leaves behind an artifact which will trigger, hopefully, several different things. Angelic Intervention has that +1/+1 counter synergy. Jawbone Duelist hits that toxic. It's a great creature to put +1/+1 counters on. And of course, Double Strike doesn't hurt in its own right. Ossification is in there mostly because of the new player experience inclusion. Gaia's Gift hits the +1/+1 counter. Not to mention, it gives a bunch of potentially beneficial keywords going on in there. Starless Steelseeker is really good on the Artifacts Matter front, as is Annex Sentry, which also forms removal and the toxic component as well. Kami is very nice in the +1/+1 category, as well as potentially being some ramp if we wanted to go big on Steel Seraph or Combat Thresher. Scrapwork Cohort is a double hit for artifacts. That's always nice. And Invasion of Moog is our primary way of adding +1/+1 counters to things other than using the Botanical Brawler. Of course, I'm using the Blossoming Sands game lands. It doesn't matter which copies you have. Everybody should have at least 2. And from there, just basic lands. This particular deck, the build that I did, went a little heavier white. So we're doing a 12-10 split on that. And of course, like I said, use what you have. This is a conversation starting point. This deck is not intended to be the end all be all of potential decks for this week, but it is what I'm going to be playing to highlight what you could do with your own collection.
What's that? You didn't catch all that? Well, Matt would like you to know that any deck list applicable to this video can be found down in the doobly-doo. Hey, let's not forget, the whole reason to participate in these totally free midweek Magic events is the prize support is awesome. And don't forget, if this video gets just 10 likes by 8 p.m. tonight on the day of release, I will be live playing this on my Twitch channel. And with all that having been said, don't forget, smash that like button like Ronnie J would. And until next time, I'll see you in the arena.